Back out on the field with the guys. Good meetings this morning, and got a big game coming up. Conference game. Glad to be back home again and get back on track this week.
After the loss, what did you on Sunday? You said you kind of talked to your guys about the big picture of the season. Can you just kind of go over what you said?
Yeah, I just want to make sure they knew where standings were and what everything meant. You know, because sometimes kids don't understand that. And there's still a lot at stake, but that's way down the road. You know, just went back today, and today's focus is all on today. We're practicing really well today and preparing for Arizona State.
What did Matt show you in that last game?
I thought Matt played great. Oregon had given up 10 touchdown passes the entire season combined. Matt threw for 5. Came close to breaking all kinds of records again for a 7-day span. He thrown for 900 yards or something like that. So over that. So like I've said before, I do feel bad because we're not winning the games. The storyline, and that's rightfully so, the storyline is not about Matt and Marquise. It's about what we're doing wrong. And if we were winning these games, the storyline would be about Matt's play and how he's even playing better than a year ago. Maybe people would think it was harder to do to duplicate maybe the best, to play better than what arguably was the best season in the history of the conference by a quarterback, and to play even better, and then Marquise just setting the world on fire by putting up numbers that never been seen before ever, and as a true sophomore. So we understand why those aren't the stories, because we need to play better and finish off games, and we will, and then hopefully those will be the stories.
What kind of athlete is Matt?
Athlete? Oh, I thought you were talking about Marquise. They're very different.
Yeah, I knew that part.
Matt's a really good quarterback. I don't know that I would say he's a phenomenal athlete. He'd like to think he is on the touchdown pass to Robert, where he got out of the way of some people. But then we showed him the other team's quarterback what a real athlete looks like. So I think he's okay with that. He's a pocket quarterback and a great one.
Do you feel equally as bad with the records that you gave up defensively?
Sure. Yeah, I feel worse. You can't do that. You can't do that in major college football. It's never seen numbers like that here before, and obviously it's not acceptable. And we're fortunate to even be close in the game with what we've given up the last 2 weeks.
With the rate at which Oregon was scoring, did you ever consider going to the onside kick earlier than you did?
Yeah, we did talk about it, but just really kept having faith that we were going to stop them. We were going to get a stop. We were going to make a play, whether it was us making a play or them screwing up on a play, as opposed to giving them the ball there at midfield.
When you say Matt's playing better, he does have more interceptions, and I know balls can be tipped and whatnot, but how do you account for him having that many interceptions, and how would you evaluate his decision making?
Yeah, I think the one area, obviously, as you look at the numbers and what he's done, everything really for the most part is similar or better than last year outside of the interceptions. And so he did a phenomenal job last year of only having 7 with that many pass attempts. And like you said, some go to tip passes and some other things that are out of control sometimes. So we have to individually look at all the interceptions to see what's really happening. Can you avoid an interception if there's a pass interference on it that's not called? So you have to look at them all. And he's had some, especially early on, that weren't great decision making that he knows about. We've discussed that before. But I think he's doing better. We did talk extensively yesterday about setting a goal of not throwing one over the next 3 weeks. And so we'll see.
When you've gone back and looked at the defensive tape from Oregon, how much of it, the issue wasn't necessarily scheme versus execution in terms of missed tackles, guys not holding their blocks up front?
Yeah, I think if we were to single either one of those out and say it was scheme or execution, I think we'd be wrong, because if you give up those numbers, it has to be everything. You can't give up that amount of points and that amount of yards without it being everything overall. And so it really was a combination of every aspect of defense you could think of, for it to get to the level that it was at.
Back to Matt a little bit. He's got 10 interceptions. How many, do you know offhand how many were his sort of responsibility versus the tip ball, or what you were referring to?
Yeah, I don't know that exactly. I'm going to guess that 7 have been his decision making, 3 kind of out of his control, whether it was the tip pass, when the back didn't get down the end, or the. I don't really fault him for the interception. first interception last week on that drive. He's throwing to where a guy's supposed to be, and the guy's held prior to that. So you got to be careful faulting the quarterback for that.
How is
And you were
Roberts
talking
Road?
about Sunday, a lot of talk about what to do on defense and all that. How does that conversation go with your players or your assistants when, you know, your dad is the head of the defense? How do you handle that? As a young coach?
Yeah, we have to look at ourselves always. Anytime, no different than the Stanford game, than what we did on offense. We have to look at ourselves as coaches in a game where it's that lopsided, and no different than the Stanford game. Completely looked at myself, and you guys heard me that week talk about not protecting the new center enough, or the rookie left tackle, in that environment. So, we've taken the blame as a staff, and rightfully so. You can't fault your players when numbers are like that.
What was behind the decision to go for 2 points when you guys scored that final touchdown?
There wasn't. It just guys were down there, and so the game was over. It wasn't like there was some big thought process. It was just I didn't throw another pass.
Are you going to vote today, or have you?
I just wanted to see if they get another pass interference on Marquise. See if they break a record for a single game. I don't answer political questions.
Even if you are going to vote?
I don't answer them. There's no win. We have plenty of problems ourselves.
Last night on Twitter, a UCLA player apparently posing may not have been real, but the fact of the matter is Marquise responded. Do you mind that response?
Yeah, I didn't see the exact responses. I give Jim more credit. Jim called me last night to make sure I didn't know anything about it. I was just working to make sure they knew that it was not one of their players, because the player had come to them and say somebody had hacked into their account. I was posing as them. So I immediately called Marquise and Robert to make sure that they knew that. But I don't know what the player said.
What did you say to Marquise and Robert?
I just said make sure that you're not responding at that point, because you're responding to someone who you don't think it is.
Did you see what they wrote before you said that?
I don't know.
How is Roberts' role in this offense changed this year?
Well, I think anytime that you have a guy do what Marquise has done with the numbers that he's doing, he leads the country in one of the categories. It's hard to have enough balls, for another guy to have the same that he had before when he broke all the records the year before. So unfortunately, he's not getting as many balls, or just aren't as many to go around. But he's still very critical, and he still helps us a lot by the coverages that get dictated towards him based off of what they know they can do if they do leave him alone.
Well, Marquise, is that a byproduct of just his growth, or is that play calling on your part?
Well, I hope that's smart play calling. I would not think that, as a USC fan, I wouldn't be real excited if the ball wasn't going to Marquise Lever, which doesn't say much for our staff. So obviously we force a lot of balls to him for a reason, because of what he's done. I think that you could easily argue that he's the most dynamic player in college football right now. Put his numbers the last 2 weeks. I don't think anybody's ever done that in the history of college football.
Is it fair to say that the offensive and defensive lines have kind of progressed and they've gotten more to the point where they're the same? When the offensive line struggled early on, the defensive line was having a lot of success, and now it seems like they're more similar.
Yeah, I think if you go back a few weeks ago, where some numbers were certain ways on offense and defense, and I kept trying to tell you guys, I know you have a job to do, but try to reserve your overall judgment until a full season is done, because a lot of times I don't think that you guys look at who people are playing and where things are ranked. And like I told you, as good as our defense was playing, you start looking at what was coming down the road, and the offense is comparable to the first ones. We were going to have to continue to improve. And then on the other side, as you looked at, a 2-week span there prior to this week of past defenses that were ranked at the bottom of the country. So to answer your question, I kind of reserved the judgment for the whole thing till the end, and I think what you've seen is we've come back down on offense, and we've gone back up to where probably the expectations were for our offense. And I've told you before, I believe in average per play, because your offense can't control the tempo which it goes with. So sometimes you don't play as many plays, or if you're not getting off the field on defense, you don't play as many plays. And credit to these guys that they're fourth in the country in average per play.